Okay guys, so just because I haven't seen any videos online yet, we ordered the Z1 concentric slave cylinder elimination kit. So I want to do kind of a review or an installation process video just to help anybody out in the future. I'll probably do this as pictures as well. So what you see here is everything that I've unboxed. I ordered the Motul 600 brake fluid with it. This is just going to be a race car, so figure put the best stuff in it. As you can see here, it comes with everything that you need. New clutch fork, throttle bearing, carrier, slave cylinder, all the extra nuts and bolts and hardware, the new front plate, again more hardware and bracketing, the new gasket, as well as installation instructions. So I'll hopefully be making a little documentary here, just kind of showing you how to install it. Hope it helps y'all out. Alright, so measuring the stack height here. The instructions say if you're using an old clutch and flywheel combination that you've already had in the car, pull it off the car to measure this. If you're using a new one, don't worry about it. It's already off the car, obviously, but you still need to measure this. So you want to measure from the back side of the flywheel, or really where it mounts to the engine. Now, we're using the JWT clutch and flywheel combo here. And if you notice, you've got the crankshaft positioning sensor wheel here. So this actually sits out from the inside of the flywheel. So we have it set on a little piece of wood here, so that way we can just stick a depth micrometer down through where the input shaft goes and measure the depth micrometer from there. So what we ended up with is 8.15 centimeters when it wants you to round to the nearest half millimeter. So that comes out to 81.5 millimeters. So using the equation that they give you, we calculated we need 7.5 millimeters of shim for the pivot ball. So as you can see here, we used actually almost all the shims that they provide. I think we have one left over, but this is what they say to do, so we're going with that. Okay, new front cover is installed. We've got the 11 bolts around the outside here. They're all torqued to 13 foot-pounds. The 4 on the bottom require some thread locker to make sure they stay. We've got the pivot ball here with the required shims. That is torqued to 30 foot-pounds to make sure it stays. Also has thread locker on it. Okay, this is the throttle bearing installed along with the fork. You can see there's a retaining clip here, and there's also a retaining clip on the inside of the fork there where it meets the ball. You can see which way the throttle bearing is installed here. Some lithium grease on there. Nice easy movement.
The retaining clip inside the fork that holds it to the ball, the whole retaining clip goes down inside that groove, all the way down inside the groove.
So this is the main mounting bracket for the slave cylinder here. So it's these bottom bolts here. And there's actually a washer, as you can see, between the bracket itself and, of course, between the nuts. This gets torqued to 20 foot-pounds. So a quick pro tip, while you're tightening these nuts back here, it will start to back out these bolts. The bolts are torqued separately because you're torquing them into the housing of the trans, and then you're torquing the nuts onto the bolts. So you have to double check your work here. Both are torqued to 20 foot-pounds. Alright, so this is what it should look like for the most part once we get it in the car. We've got it just loosely mounted up right now. We'll take it off before we put the transmission back in. A couple notes here. There are 2 washers on this side of the hydraulic. Just clearance issues. There's also a little spring here. You can see the washers that they supply. This will mount to the transmission here, and the spring tension will pull it back. Also, the dust cover. There is no rubber bracket or bushing in there that'll really protect it. It's just this metal piece here. Okay, so this is the finished product here. You can see we've got the heat shields, dust covers, everything like that on. The new clutch line is run up underneath the heat shield. Slave cylinders mounted to the outside. Everything's bolted up. Everything mounts just fine. You want to talk about adjustment?
Yeah, so once you get everything in, the spring in the front here actually pulls the fork all the way to the front of the case, so it's touching the case. So when you adjust the rear so that it pulls the fork off of the case, and then it still has to leave your 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter gap between the throwout bearing and the pressure plate. So that adjustment is made here to pull that back. Once we had that back in place, then it was a matter of adjusting the clutch pedal, because it does have a shorter throw now than the stock throw. So the clutch pedal actually sits a little bit lower in the car, but does fully engage.
See if you can get a shot of the spring.
You can see the spring that goes from the bell housing to the front of the clutch fork.